It is a new year. Welcome to 2023, episode 36.
Dang, I was one off. Yeah, 36. I can't believe it. Bringing in the new year with episode 36.
Oh, well, I'll just actually be wrong. I'm pretty sure it's 36.
Yeah, you're always right. I always think we're one behind for some reason.
I was like, 35 just kind of rang off the zone. Well, Brad, how was the new year for you? Did you ring it in? Do y'all have any like special fun New Year's traditions or anything?
Well, so New Year's Eve is mine and my wife's anniversary. So we celebrated 11 years this year. So really it was like we wanted the opposite. This year's been very busy in a good way. But so we just kind of like hung out the house, ate a bunch of appetizers all day, watched a bunch of movies with the kids, and just hung out. Just had a nice, easy ring in the new year, which was very, very welcomed in our house. So
that is awesome. That is awesome. We, for a long time, when my wife and I got together, we always did New Year's at her parents' house. But they live in Georgia and we're here in Birmingham. So we would drive over for Christmas and then we turn around and drive back and then we go back again for New Year's. And so a couple of years ago, we just decided to not do that because, it's fun. And we have started a tradition recently. And when I say recently, the last 2 years we've done it, we start a Mario Party game. At 10 o'clock. And by the time the game is done, when we have people over at our house and everything, so we do a big party, everyone's screaming and yelling during the games like, you stole my star, bro. Then by the time it's done, it's usually like 11:45. So
nice. That is a great tradition. I might have to steal that one. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. It's a blast. And with that new Mario Party Superstars, man, love it.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, I'm excited today. Today's guest, we know him. I've got to know him a little bit over the last year. He's actually on the Atlas Ascent team. In California now, either he's already in Tennessee or he's coming to Tennessee. So we're happy to have him a little closer, maybe swing by there, do some content. He does some content of his own too. So let's go ahead and bring Andrew in if you're ready.
Come on.
Let's do it.
We want to welcome to the podcast, Mr. Andrew Wood. How are you doing today, sir?
Hey, I'm doing great. Robbie, Brad, great to be here. Excited to be on the podcast and talk about some plastic.
Let's do it.
Come on. And now, guys, for those of you who don't follow him, and I don't understand how this man does not have more followers, let's go ahead and call it what it is. Because if you're watching this, you can see that Andrew might just have the highest quality production setup of any guest we've had on the show so far.
Yep.
So Andrew does run a YouTube channel, so make sure you stick around because we want to give you a time at the end, Andrew, to shameless plug everything you got going for yourself, man. So,
hey, absolutely, man. I appreciate that. Never pass up a shameless plug. Come on now.
Absolutely, my brother. So we want our guests to get to know you and your game. And so we have a few questions that we ask here on the podcast. The first being, how long have you been playing disc golf?
Yeah, man. So like a ton of people, I picked up disc golf in the middle of the pandemic. So I started August of 2020. So if my math is correct, is that just over 2 years? 2023.
Yeah. Yep.
Gosh, man, it's crazy.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yeah. So I'm always curious, especially because there's some people who picked it up, right? They were like early summer. They got bored real fast in the pandemic, had to do it. And then you have those of you who picked it up later in the year. You're in youth ministry?
I am. Yep. Yeah. So I'm a youth pastor down here in Southern California.
Yeah. So it also the struggle. As a former youth minister, I get it. The people are like, man, summers they were so boring. Yeah, bro. I told my wife at the beginning of every summer, I'll see you on the other side, babe.
100%, man. Yeah, so, it's all gas, no brakes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then I married a children's librarian, so her summers were busy. It was perfect. It was perfect little setup.
There you go.
You picked it up 2 years ago. If you were playing right now, you step up to a hole. What is average or consistent golf shot backhand distance and consistent golf shot forehand distance?
Yeah, I would say consistent on the backhand. If I hit it, I'm hitting 370. Definitely times it goes a little shorter. Definitely times it goes a little longer. So around 370, though, I feel pretty confident I can hit it. Forehand, I'll be honest, man. Forehand is a coin flip. 50% of the time, I'm going to hit it well, and it's going to go 340 for me. 50% of the time it's going to go 150 right into the dirt. So, I mean, I avoid the forehand at all costs. I'm not going to lie. If I was an intelligent golfer, I'd be spending my field work working on my forehand. But why improve your score when you could throw farther? You know what I mean? So we're working on that distance game.
Oh man, the number of times that I tell people,
Oh
and
gosh,
Brad, I'm sure you taste this. Like, I'm sure you've even seen it with Brody, right? Like, Brody throws 500 right now, and yet I remember seeing him and being like, he said, "Yeah, like what I'm going to do in the off season is work on adding speed to my run up so that I can throw farther."
Yeah. Well, I've just watched him throw putters farther than I can ever throw any disc ever in my life. So, yeah.
gosh, must be nice, man. Hey, maybe one day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not me, but one day we'll get there.
Absolutely. Well, Andrew, we set you up. That's your distance. We set you up on the putting green where those strokes really come to get you.
Come on now.
And we set you up on the putting green. We got a stack of 10 putters at 15 feet, 25 feet, and 40 feet. How many are you making from each station?
Yeah, 15 feet. I'm going to give myself 9 out of 10 because I know one of them is going to doink off the front cage. 25 feet, we're probably going more in the 6 to 7 range,
Okay.
And then was it 40 feet, did you say?
Yeah.
40 feet out of 10, I'm hitting 2.
Okay.
I like my stepper game, but I like it more in my head than it actually works out in reality. So we're going 2. Let's be honest here. We'll keep it real,
Yeah.
I think 2 out of 10 is still really good. So I'm here for you.
All right. Hey, I'll take that. Come on now.
No. I mean, Brad, like, how often do you redo this drill, Brad?
Every other week or so in the warehouse. We have them taped out in the warehouse now. So we call them warehouse putt if we're out playing around like with our weekly. We're like, oh, that's just a warehouse putt. So I've become very deadly at 25 feet. And then, I mean, I could probably make 5 out of 10 now at 40 feet. I feel pretty good at that distance. Now, 41 feet, I'm making 1. 40 feet, I'm making 5. And there's something weird that happens there.
Gets in your head right there.
Practicing the putt. That's all practice putting is, right? It's learning the mechanic, learning the toss and throw. So
Yeah.
I think I'm like a spush putter naturally, but I think when I get to like 41 feet versus 40, I'm adding more spin and I become way less accurate. I think that's really what's going on.
Are you stepping or are you stand still?
Yeah, stand still. I don't really step until I'm at like 80, 90 feet.
Gosh. Okay, I got to be honest. That's kind of goals for me. I feel like the people who crush circle 2 putts stand still. It's a little bit of a flex on all of us guys who got to step to get it there. So, I'm maybe I'll work on that. Work on the circle 2 standstill. I feel like that's just a clean look,
Yeah. My coach infuriates me because he literally can do a standstill spin from 80 and it's just like on a dime. And and he's in his 50s, living his dream, and you just get out there and you're like, "Oh man, just beat you. Like I just crushed it past you." And all these young guns are happy about it, and then he's like, "Okay, yeah, boom, it's in."
Yeah.
And then, of course, they're going to miss your 20. I don't care who you are. Someone hits a standstill 80-foot spin putt, you are missing your next putt. Guaranteed.
Easy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right in front of the cage. Jaspering it all day. Okay, so, Andrew, enough about our insecurities on the putting green. Or perhaps, what would you say is the biggest strength of your game right now?
Yeah, it probably is my upshots. The closest course to me is kind of a 9-hole pitch and putt. No holes really over 150, 100, 170. So that's the most accessible for me. So I end up playing that little track quite a bit, which means my upshots have kind of subsequently gotten pretty dialed. So I feel confident that I can hit the upshot so I can avoid the putt. That's kind of the strategy at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I mean, that's the Nate Doss special. I think I can't remember what year it was, but I remember Nate Doss talking about it on commentary and coverage of saying that people complimented the years he was really like successful. People said like, "You're just one of the best putters on tour." And he was like, "No, I just throw better upshots than everybody else. So I don't have to putt."
Mm-hmm. That's the truth.
Game on with it. Okay. Well, Andrew, we want to go ahead and dive into your bag, man. You got a lot of good stuff in here. You do have about 7 billion like discs in your bag.
Yeah, emphasis on a lot.
A lot of frisbees in here. Which, shout out to, we mentioned it during the intro, you are on the Atlas Ascent team. And so, first off, when everyone's out here trying to doubt what the Pioneer can hold, it can hold a lot of frisbees.
It can hold a lot. Yeah, come on.
He's pushed the limit since day one, that's for sure.
Absolutely. So you have, I think it's like 27 discs in here.
That sounds pretty accurate. Yeah, 27 discs, 20 or so odd molds.
Yeah, and that's okay. Yeah. Once again, we have talked about it plenty of times here on the podcast, mold mineralization. While we see some value in it, it really, as long as you find consistency in your game, that's what counts. And so you approach it however you want to approach it. Now, we'll start with drivers, and we're going to work our way down the speed spectrum.
Yeah, so sounds good.
Looking at drivers, you do have a couple molds that are layered over. The mold that I'm seeing the most of in the bag is the Grace, or like the most in the driver slot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I bagged 3 Graces. Big fan. I have a flippy, a straight, and an overstable. Although, if I'm being totally honest, my straight and overstable are pretty much the same, but I like the way they both look, so they both stay in the bag. It's kind of the logic here, that Orbit plastic, it looks so clean, and then the pink with the, anyways, I digress. But yeah, really it's the flippy, that first run, super flippy for me. Either the hyzer flip, if I can hit it, or the turnover.
Okay, awesome. Another thing that I really appreciate for those of you who are watching this visually is that one thing that Andrew did is he goes in, and it's a great feature of my disc bag. You can alter the flight numbers of the disc. So when you look at his chart, rather than just 3 Graces kind of being stacked on one another, I like that you have that flippy one pulled all the way over. So going to that flippy one, what would you say is the difference between it and the Avenger SS?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't have a good answer, man. I think, if anything, it's just sort of my mentalization of the 2 discs. The Avenger SS I have in the bag as my roller slot. Now, do I ever throw a roller? Absolutely not. But in theory, I have that slot filled with the Avenger SS. So could I roll the first run Grace just as well as I could roll the Avenger SS, which is not well. So, there's definitely some overlap there. I'm trying to think of a way to defend that choice, and I'm coming up short, man. So, yeah, you got me on that one.
No, and that's fine. I that was going to be my follow-up question is, have you ever tried to throw a roller with your Grace?
I haven't, man. I've never even tried it, but I know just on how quickly I can get that thing to burn over if I hit my release wrong, that I could for sure do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So maybe that is an opportunity to test yourself is, hey, let's take the Avenger SS out for, I don't know, a couple weeks, play some rounds at, especially I think with you moving across the country, you're going to find yourself in new territory. So you'll be scrambling. And from what I've heard about California golf compared to Tennessee golf, I know Tennessee golf, you're going to be scrambling a whole lot more in some more particular situations. And so I think test it out when you're over there and be like, hey, I'm going to leave the Avenger SS home. Do I find myself wishing I had that roller option and I can't get the Grace to do it? Because if not, that should build some confidence in the Avenger SS. Whereas right now it's just like it's there for confidence, but not really, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, that's something I'm looking forward to about getting out to Tennessee and playing some different courses. You guys talked about this in an earlier episode, but down here in Southern California, there aren't that many courses within kind of a certain mile radius. So I really only play 1 or 2 courses pretty regularly. So I kind of know exactly what discs I'm going to throw on what holes, and there's very little variance in that right now. So, getting out and playing some new courses, I think will really force me to rethink some of the slots in my bag and what I need and don't need 100%.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to ask you to say like what city you're going to if you don't feel comfortable, but what part of Tennessee are you going to? And maybe our listeners can in the comments give some suggestions of like, here's a great course in your area to go check out when you
Yeah,
find
yeah.
yourself in the Middle Tennessee or East or West.
100%. Yeah, it's the kind of the greater Nashville, Franklin area.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So our Nashville Music City folk,
Yep.
let us know in the comments down below. I've got a couple suggestions myself, but we'll hear what the people say.
Yeah. Hey,
Yep.
please. I need it.
Awesome. Well, we've got the Grace. I think, the Grace is a great option. Obviously, I'm not out. You answered for yourself on the two Graces that fly the same, but I also am a firm believer that, like, if we're going to take the Avenger SS out as well, there's a beauty in having that. Like, if you find yourself playing a water round or something, there are definitely times where I carry the same exact shot in my bag because it gives me confidence in losing it because I know that I'm going to still have it for the rest of the round.
And that's good.
So you also have a Zeus you have two Zeuses and a Rive. Talk to me about the differences between those.
Yeah. So that big Z Zeus is my flippier of the Zeus. And, that Zeus actually flies like my stable Grace. So I definitely experienced this on some tee shots where I'll have either my stable Grace or my big Z Zeus in the hand. And, I kind of have to make a choice. To a certain extent, I can't make a wrong choice because they're going to fly pretty similar. But, definitely some overlap there. That ESP Zeus, though, is definitely more stable than any of my Graces or that big Z Zeus. So that's generally my go-to hit it flat. No, it's going to go left disc is that ESP Zeus. Now the Rive is more stable than any of those, and I hardly ever backhand that Rive. That's pretty much a forehand only disc. I used to have a force in that slot. The only reason I changed over was because I just love the feel of that Royal Grand plastic. So it changed it over to the Rive. But, with what I said about my forehand game earlier being a coin flip, it doesn't come out that often. But I will say it has, because of the more overstability, for my forehand, it gives me more forgiveness than something like that ESP Zeus, because I tend to have an Annie release on my forehand. So with that Zeus, if I don't give it the height, it's burned into the ground quick. Whereas with the Rive, I know it can come out of that Annie and I can still salvage, a mishit on that forehand.
Okay. That also makes a lot of sense to me on the variance of I'm either going to crush it and it's 340 or 150 feet and it burns into the ground because of slapping it right into the ground on that Annie. That
100%.
Makes a ton of sense. And Brad, that's not something that's not your game because you're a hyzer boy. Like you're out here all day, baby. Flip them up.
Yeah, and what I've recently added to my bag, not tangent here, but I've started forehanding a lift, and it is changed my distance dramatically because I just put it on hyzer, it'll flip up. I mean, I was hitting like 300 plus with my forehand consistently the other day, so we're working it in. So give some credit for some understability if you're a hyzer player out there with your forehand and you're struggling.
You gotta show me your ways, man. I gotta learn that hyzer forehand.
Yeah, well, don't look at me. Look at someone that knows what they're doing. But I appreciate that. For my ego, it thanks you.
Hey, come on. I got you.
Let's jump to an understable side of things. I know that I caught just a tiny glimpse of it in a video you did, and then I turned it off, so I wanted to save all of the beauty for this podcast. But one of your favorite discs in your bag, it's a 9-speed Discraft disc.
Well, come on.
Talk to us about it, baby.
Oh, it's the Undertaker, baby. All right, so here's a little bit of the backstory with the Undertaker. When I first got introduced to disc golf, a buddy took me out. We had a fun round. He said, "Hey, just go home and YouTube disc golf. You'll fall down the rabbit hole quick." And of course, I did. So, this was at the time where Foundation was exclusively Discraft. So Foundation pops up. It's a video of Hunter, Trevor, and Paul at one of your local courses, and I think it's Paul rips an Undertaker, and Hunter, or maybe it was Trevor, looks at the camera and goes, "Hey, if you want to throw dead straight 400 feet, go buy a TI Undertaker." So naturally, that's the first disc I ever bought of my own. My buddy had given me a couple, but so that TI Undertaker comes in, first disc, right out of the box. I rip it hard. It does not go straight, and it does not go 400 feet. So feel a little bit lied to. Got a bone to pick with the Foundation guys over there. But no. In all seriousness, no. That disc, I think there's a lot of sentimental value just in that experience for me. It's also the first and only disc I've ever aced with. And it was a $500 ace pot, so Felt real good, man. I
Yeah.
could finally validate all that plastic money I've been spending. But yeah, so that's the Undertaker. I love the disc. I have two in the bag. The TI is pretty flippy for me, and then I just put that new Tour Series ESP in that's got a little more stability. But yeah, I love it, man. It's definitely my workhorse.
Yeah.
What's the difference, like distance wise, between your like flippy Undertaker and your flippy Grace?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's probably in the neighborhood of 20 feet. If I hit them both well on the right amount of hyzer and get them to kind of give me that full flight, I'm probably getting the Grace 370 and the Undertaker 350. That Undertaker is starting to get more and more understable to the point where I can't really hit it full power like I used to, and certainly not into any kind of headwind. So I have to baby that disc a little bit more than I used to. But I think if I get it right in a tailwind and kind of get it to flip up, I can push it 340, 350.
Yeah, I think something I struggle with is in like the 9 to even 11 speed area for me is like justifying this, having a 9 speed versus like an 11 speed because they really don't go that much farther for me. So I'm like, why don't I load up on some 9 speeds to do different things and like work on some more finesse versus like hitting something super hard.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's right or wrong, Robbie, but that's just kind of an area I'm seeing. That's why I asked that question.
Yeah, and where I want to take the 9 speed is I definitely see value in that for some arguments. If you're getting that consistent extra 20 feet, that validates somewhat having the disc in the bag for me, because if you step up to a hole, I'm trying to think for examples like I don't even know. Like you were looking at a 320-foot hole and you're landing consistently at 280 feet. You have, if you're Brad, I mean, you're making 5 out of 10 putts from there, because that's 40 feet, like game on. But if you're a human,
Easy.
then the rest of us are struggling at that 40-foot distance. Whereas if you have the extra 20 feet and you can get that out of that disc consistently, boom. But where that faster speed issue comes in, and I think that's definitely what Brad's talking about, is that like if you're not used to throwing those 11 speeds and you don't have the nose control of those 11 speeds, that extra 20 feet isn't a guarantee anymore. In fact,
Yeah.
it can hurt you and probably fly less consistently to that 20 feet.
Yeah, you said it way better than what I was trying to figure out, which is the miss is much bigger for me on an 11 speed versus a 9 speed. So I find myself going to like a lower speed, even if I know I'm coming up a little short. I'm like, okay, maybe I'm a little short, but I'm a little bit more accurate with those discs than like a higher speed disc.
Yeah. So with your Undertaker, with it being a favorite disc, you have the sentimental value of the TI Undertaker. We lied as foundation telling you, hey, it flies so far, 400 feet dead straight. Have you ever tried throwing your Undertakers on forehand?
I have never tried throwing my Undertakers on forehand. I have been so gun shy of forehanding understable discs because I already have that tendency to roll my forehands over on Annie. So, I pretty much exclusively forehand the beef because it covers my poor form. So,
Here's something I'll say though, Andrew. I was the same way. I had more of like an axe chopping kind of like forehand and like getting that flex. That's what I was relying on. But like something mentally for me throwing that lift is like, I know I can just be smooth with it. I don't have to kill it. And just naturally lets me just like kind of gentle hyzer and follow all the way through versus like knowing I have to kill it to make it come back to where it is. So I don't know, for whatever it's worth, mentally the understable, I just have like a much more smooth, and I don't roll my wrist on them. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, no, I think that's helpful. I think for me, if I'm able to get in the right headspace and spend some time in the field focusing on that and playing with that a little bit, everybody I watch on YouTube, kind of all the advice I hear talks about, the learning to throw that forehand with some understability. So it's for sure got to be on my to-do list.
Yeah, and it's start with hyzers. Like just start, and you don't even have to do it with your drivers at first, even because, and in fact, I would encourage you to not do it with drivers at first because they go farther. So that makes for a really long fieldwork session because you got to walk a lot.
Yeah.
So grab some understable putters and just throw them on hyzers. Like throw them sky high and just do sky hyzers over and over again till you get that consistency. The reason I push this is because I know Brad's talking about his lift, which is going to fill a similar slot to what your beat-in Undertaker is going to do.
Okay.
And the beauty is you already love the Undertaker. And if you're already leaning on it a lot, so there's a hand feel, a subconscious confidence of that Undertaker in your hands.
Yep.
We can add even more to that because now you're not only stepping up to shots where you got to throw it on a flexor and get it to go straight. Now you can step up and go, oh, I'm pinched off. I'm in the woods and I still need 300 feet to the basket, but I can't move my feet. Easy.
Yeah. That's
Flip
good.
up that Undertaker and it's gone all the way. So that's what we love trying to see what we can do. And when you learn how to throw that understable forehand, you're going to watch as like some of your discs get thrown a lot less because suddenly you don't have to take that captain's raptor and karate chop it or the machete and karate chop it and let it flex out all the way down the line. And you can pull out your favorite disc even more, which will allow you to beat in your ESP Undertaker faster because you're going to be like, well, I can throw the beat-in one. I bet I can forehand the pretty one too. So,
yep,
it's just options for you.
Hey,
So,
I love it.
I wanna make sure that we're getting through we're getting through fast. We're covering stuff, but there's one more forehand spot that fascinates me. The Raptors, I can kind of assume based on the Raptors, right? Raptorious gonna Raptorious. It's doing its thing. I like that you've got several phases of it, but the Glory and the Athena. You knew it was coming. What's talk me through them?
Yeah, man, I got to be honest. I think I just got sucked into the hype, like I said, I love that orbit, that Royal Grand Plastic coming out of Latitude. Big fan. So the Glory was just intriguing to me. And I, when I got it, I was not expecting it to be as beefy as it is. I don't know if that's just me and my arm, or if that's kind of how this disc flies. But that thing is so overstable for me. So, really, probably that Glory doesn't have a slot in the bag because it flies too similarly to either my Malta or my Raptor. I don't really pull it out in rounds. I like the way it looks. It looks cool. That pink orbit is pretty fire, but it doesn't really get thrown a lot for me. The Athena, once again, it's just one of those things where, the marketing is so good on these discs, man. Just take my money. So I had to have one. I had to at least see what all the hype was about. And I will say, though, I actually really like the Athena. I'm really enjoying throwing it. I've never really played with that T-Bird slot before. I've just kind of gone from the Buzz to the Undertaker to the Raptor and kind of skipped 7 speeds altogether. So, to be honest, I haven't thrown it enough probably to know what job exactly it does for me. But I do know when I throw it, I like it.
Yeah. I think for me, when I threw the Athena, I didn't bag it, but it was definitely like a slower vulture for me, which I liked. But
okay.
I didn't really have a spot for it necessarily. I had other discs that are kind of covering that gap.
Yeah, and Brad, I think you can speak to that a little bit of the we've talked about it on the podcast before, the skipping past the 7 speeds to just go from mid to 9. So
yeah,
it's a very common thing, Andrew. So don't feel like you've done something wrong in terms of I've never messed around with a T-Bird, and everybody says you should have a T-Bird clone in your bag or whatever.
Yeah. I think for me, it's coming back to my point earlier. Like I didn't see a lot of distance difference between my Athena and my beat up Vulture. Like I'm throwing them both pretty the same. So it just didn't make a lot of sense for me, although I did like the flight. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think I can see that similarity because I do have a Vulture in the bag as well. And I think I don't know that I hit my Athena quite as far as my Vulture. Although now that you say that, I'd be curious to throw the two in a field side by side and see. But I do think the flight path actually is similar for sure. Now that you say that.
Yeah, it was very, very similar for me. And the thing I like maybe like puts the Vulture ahead of the Athena is like the ground play. Like if I'm throwing my Vulture, I want the ground play.
Right.
And like the Athena, I didn't really get it. So maybe that's just part of the reason for me too.
All factors to consider. So let's jump. We're gonna be talking about mid ranges. So we're gonna jump right over those and head down to putters for a brief moment. So I did watch You're in the Bag for this portion of it, and something you talked about is that this sort of straight to understable putter slot for you. You've got a lot of discs competing for that slot between your Berg, your inner core. There was a Luna mentioned in that video, but it didn't even make the chart. So what's going on in that battle for you right now?
Yeah, man, 100%. So, for a long time, it was the Tour Series Luna. That was what I was relying on. And, I found that disc, excuse me, to be workable. So that's what I enjoyed about it. But gosh, getting choked up talking about that Luna, man.
R.I.P.
It hits
Luna.
deep. Yeah. Gosh. No, but, really, actually, where this started was with the Envy. So kind of I'll work my way back. I had the Envy in my bag for a while. It had come out. I just missed it. That disc is so good as a driving putter, as a throwing putter. So the Envy had to come out. And then when the inner core came out, I'm a huge fan of Jesse and Trash Panda and the work that he's doing. And the inner core is just such a money disc. It had to make the bag. No question about it. So, and then actually it was Jesse who turned me on to the Berg when he was out here. Last I played around with him, and he got me on the Berg. So then I got a Berg. So now I have all these discs competing, and the Luna I kept in the bag because it's always been in the bag, but I was never throwing it. So that's why it didn't make the chart. It came out of the bag. My putters are a mess. I'll be honest. Even as I'm sitting here trying to talk about it and explain it, there's for sure some overlap going on. And, when I step up to an upshot, I did say at the beginning of this podcast that that's probably where I feel most confident in my game. But definitely I wouldn't say I'm always confident on what disc I'm throwing on what upshot, because I think I can make any of those discs do similar things. So it's sort of a little bit of a just whatever I'm feeling that day. But yeah, if I was really looking to score best going into a tournament round, that's a slot I would probably want to bring some clarity to.
Yeah. I feel like I'm just to justify your mess, as you called it, in your putter category. I'm kind of in that same spot. Like I'm trying out a bunch of different ones to see like what I like, and then I'm going to narrow it down. So maybe that's kind of what you're doing in your mind and you don't realize it.
Yeah. Hey, I'll take that logic. I'm here for it.
Yeah. See, I got your back.
Yeah. And if it's a strength of your game, to me, that makes a lot of sense why you throw all of them really well, right? Like, you're confident in that area, and you have worked with the Berg enough to beat it into a comfortable place. You've worked with your Envy enough to beat it into a comfortable place. The inner core, let's be real, none of us have had them long enough. And like, even for those of us that got them early, like pre-release, like we still don't have enough time to beat one into a place of like, I'm still not willing to be like, Jesse, love you to death, brother. The inner core, when it beats in, is going to be a fantastic disc to do exactly what I need it to do. I don't know. And so the inner core, it's just that good off the shelf. So I love that. And I love that you have the confidence in that slot. I think that while you could bring in some clarity when you play an event, to me, having thrown a Berg and an inner core, the difference I've seen is just the sheer amount of glide.
That's
like
true.
When I throw an inner core, it just seems to go forever. Like some of my longest putter shots that I've thrown have been an inner core, and yet the Berg is literally designed to get to the ground. Like it comes out, it does that short shot. So I think that while they're similar in terms of flight, you nailed it with like the Berg has a purpose. The inner core has a purpose. Your envy has a purpose. So I want to tell you that I don't think you have as much muddied waters as you do, because if you did have the muddied waters, I don't think this would be a strength for you.
I
I
appreciate
think
that. That's
you
helpful
would pick the
perspective.
wrong disc often.
Yeah, can I also just say if it's an area of strength in your bag, I think it makes sense to have more molds to play with because you have more control and a little more finesse versus like if you're like, hey, I'm not really good at hyzer flip shots, you have like one disc you're trying to learn for
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
So I think that makes sense too.
Yeah. And
Yeah. Sounds good.
that was at loving the inner core. I would consider that upshot area a strength of mine as well. And I came out of Vlogmas and was like, oh, baby, I get to actually use my bag again. This is fun. And I had the inner core and my polecat just competing with one another.
Yeah.
And I finally had to be like, stop using the inner core for these shots. Like, the inner core is not what I need for these touch up shots. I need to use my polecat for these.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so shifting it to just because it's a putter doesn't mean it has to be used for approaches was a
Yeah.
huge game changer for me
Mm-hmm.
in terms of looking at my bag. So really, I want to compliment you on that. I think you have a really well-rounded bag. The only two discs I think that I think might compete in your bag, and you can tell me if not, is your Jawbreaker Zone versus your Neutron Envy.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. That Jawbreaker Zone is a little beat in as well. So that's a pretty straight disc for me with the reliable finish. I keep that disc in the very far corner of my bag. I don't keep it up in the putter pocket because I so rarely reach for it. You know what I mean? I have the overstable zone, the get freaky, that I reach for quite a bit, and that goes right in the little tongue of the bag, and then the MV's up in the putter pocket. So you know, I think maybe I'll point to Brody on this one. That's is watching him is the reason why I bought a Jawbreaker Zone in the first place, because he always talked about his and how much he loved them and the things he could do with them and beating them in, and a beat in zone he's going to throw it 400 feet, and you maybe start to see a little bit of a theme here in my disc buying habits. So I do like that disc. I think it's probably, if I need to approach forehand and straight, that's probably in theory the disc I'm going to reach for, which is why it's in the bag. But that just so rarely ever happens in reality for me in a round, because I can also flick that MV forehand if I need to.
Yeah. I am like, when we do our next reunion show, Andrew, I'm so excited to have you on because of the fact that you're going somewhere where you're going to be playing multiple courses. Because you're saying, like, I rarely have to do that straight approach shot. Bro, welcome to Woods Golf. You throw that straight approach shot all the time. Like, you just missed the fairway at the very end of your shot, and now you need like the last 75 feet of distance on a bullet. Boosh.
Yep.
Yeah.
Super straight.
No, that's exciting to me because I'll be honest, I've never played woods golf in the traditional sense of it. That's just not really an option down here in, Orange County, Southern California. There just aren't woods. I've only really played open style and golf course style golf. So,
Yeah.
I'm excited, man. I'm really pumped to get in the woods and see what that's all about. It'll be a whole new experience.
Let me give you a mantra that you can repeat when you start playing woods golf. Disc golf is fun. I like disc golf. Disc golf is fun. I like disc golf. Just remember to say that to yourself a couple times around so you don't lose it.
I'll write it on my forearm so I can.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
You can do like one each finger. Disc golf is fun. See it written down. Yeah, no. So that's, I changed my mind. The disc golf was designed to be played in the woods, truly. And so there's nothing like the feeling of watching a disc work its way down a wooded path. Like, it's so beautiful. But I can completely relate to you on the Jawbreaker Zone, not because I have zones in my bag, but I have a pig that literally lives between my like super beat in one and my super overstable one for exactly what you're talking about. When I need something that's a little torque resistant, but I can put straight. And I have a disc that flies like the MB as well. I think because it's that subconscious confidence reversed into forehands, because I'm so used to forehanding a pig. when I try to forehand my sensei is what I have in
Okay.
that NV
Yep.
slot. It just feels different. Like it feels like a disc that while I can forehand it, it doesn't feel right to forehand it. But when I put a pig in my hand, or when you put a zone in your hand, you're like, game on. I
Yeah.
know how to use this in this shot. And so it's just that little bit of difference. So
Mm-hmm.
completely agree with you there. Let's dive into mid ranges. You have 3 mid ranges in your bag.
That's right.
So you can definitely relate to, like, this is Brad's bag, truly, at the beginning, just with a little more latitude sprinkled in there. So
Yep.
I I look at this and I see the Malta clearly defined, overstable, get left. Do you
Mm-hmm.
throw it on some like flexes at all?
I don't often. The Malta is my least thrown of those 3 discs. Now, that's
Okay.
probably just due to the courses that I play. Really, I throw the Raptors or the Zone. The Malta gets skipped quite a bit. But,
Okay.
I definitely could throw it on flex in theory if I needed to.
Okay. And then the Buzz. The Buzz is pretty far over in terms of a Buzz. Talk about your Buzz.
Yeah, so that yellow ESP Buzz, man, it's also one of those early purchases. One of the first couple discs that I ever bought. So that thing is kind of old, trusty. It's been in the bag a long time, and I mean it's gotten pretty beat up. So that Buzz doesn't have the stability of kind of your out of the box or most of your normal buzzes, which is what I love about it. It still has just maybe a touch of stability that if I get over just a little, it'll still fight back to flat to finish. But for the most part, that's sort of my 300 feet and in, point and shoot, get it straight, land it flat, go to disc. So by far my most thrown of the 3 mid ranges. And my most workable as well. That Buzz, if I put it on hyzer, it'll flip up and go a little bit, but it's not going to flip all the way over. If I put it on Annie, it's not going to fight back. If I hit it flat, it's going to stay flat. So, most of the time, unless it's a pretty drastic left or right shot, I'm picking the Buzz and I'm manipulating the angle as opposed to reaching for the Meteor or the Malta.
Okay. Fascinating. Like, truly fascinating. So let's talk about the Meteor, because we're going to talk about the Meteor, and then I'm going to bring people into a conversation, including Brad, that we had before you came on the podcast. So tell us about your Meteor. What does it do in relation to that Buzz? Like, when do you go for it instead?
Yeah, the Meteor is if I need that backhand left to right moving shot. That's more than just a little drift, but I need it to actually kind of get right. The Meteor is kind of what I'm going to try and hit high and let it glide right. So it's a fairly specific shot, and that's kind of really the only time I reach for the Meteor consistently. The Meteor, I think, would be a great hyzer flip disc for me. I'm just not always confident on the hyzer flip shot. Like if there's trouble left, I'm not going to try and hyzer flip, because half the time I try, I just hyzer and I don't flip. And then I'm OB left. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah, the Meteor is really like if there is trouble left and I'm going to throw the Meteor, I'm going to hit it flat and I'm going to risk burning it over. Or try and hit it high and let it glide right. But even in that situation, I'm grabbing the Buzz and trying to hit it just on a touch of Annie more often than I'm trying to hit the Meteor flat or on a little bit hyzer. So, like I was kind of saying earlier, there's 2 very specific holes at Huntington Beach, which is where I play kind of most often, where that Meteor is an option depending on the pin location, which is really the reason it's in the bag is for those 2 holes. When the pin is in the right spot, it's a Meteor all day,
Yeah. And your Meteor is beat in, right? Like it
Yeah,
is way
yeah.
flippier than like a standard Meteor is going to be, kind of a deal.
Yeah, had that Meteor for a long time, for sure. So it definitely has a lot of flip to it.
Okay. Well, Brad is notorious for like having to live kind of in the darkness of terms of I send him to the field with a bunch of discs and I'm like, here's what you're gonna do. And he's like, okay, I guess I'll do that. So uh one thing I I love your bag, and it sounds like I know we talked about there was some overlap, and that's kind of what we've hit on the most here. But one question that I asked you before you came on was, you have a solid bag. What area of your bag are you most confident in? What area of your bag are you least confident in? And what answer did you give for least confident for your bag?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not even remembering what exactly I said when you asked me that. Um,
Yeah.
so if you
So
remember, you can help me out.
Oh no, I'm with you. I'm with you. So you had said it's that left to right, like
Yes,
just
anything
pure
left to
left to
right.
right shot.
That
Yeah.
yes, anything left to right. Because the forehand's the coin flip. Anything that I need to get to go left to right, trying to hit that Annie angle. I have a natural hyzer release, not drastic, but like slight. And I struggle to get kind of that Anheuser shot. So anything moving left to right is a little bit stress inducing for me.
Yeah. So Brad, what discs did we send you to the field to try out?
Okay, so I threw an ESP Meteor today against this really cool misprint lobster that Mint sent over.
Come on.
And I also, just kind of as a control disc, I'm starting to do that a little bit more. I threw a VIP Air Tarsus, and forgive me if I'm saying that wrong. I think I say it wrong. So I threw these discs against each other today. Meteor, I'm very familiar with. I used to bag a Meteor. I actually bagged one for a very long time, a TI Meteor. Tarsus, I've thrown a few times. My youngest son bags one. He loves it for this exact shot. And then the lobster, I've only thrown a handful of times. So it was kind of like and I love Mint, and I think that's well known here. So it was like the plastic was comfortable. So it was an interesting experiment today for sure.
So here's I'll pull the lift the curtain away so you all can see my fingers working behind the curtain. So looking at your bag, Andrew, I think one of the reasons that you struggle with this left to right shot is you've got a lot of discs that are either neutral to overstable or really understable. Like you've
Yeah.
beaten them in to be super understable. Your Grace, your Avenger SS, the Undertaker, the Meteor. Like the inner core is probably the only disc that lives in this chasm that is just like fresh and workable in that
Yeah.
slot.
Yeah.
So, because of that, I think that is what's giving you the weakness in it, is that because you've beaten all these discs in and you don't have discs that, like, you're in the process of getting others to fill the gap, fill the mold. Cycling, this is the dark side of cycling, is when you don't fill the replacement.
Yep.
So for all the people that are like, Robbie's a homer when it comes to mold minimalization, I want to talk about all the weaknesses of it, right? So here's why I had Brad try these discs. Is Brad, I wanted you to see a fresh one, and you've got experience with the Meteor. So I think the Meteor people misrepresent often as being like this crazy. I think when people think about the Meteor, they think about your Meteor, Andrew.
Okay.
Right.
So
I'd agree.
I want to know, was that actually true, Brad, when you threw it? Did these discs, like, how were these discs in terms of natural understability that you threw today?
Yeah. So again, this is really helping me because I'm really focusing on that very flat release. I'm trying not to like give it hyzer or anhyzer, right? So the Meteor and ESP was surprisingly like you said, Robbie, I think it's very misrepresented because it went pretty straight and had like a nice, gentle left to right fade. And then if I on purpose gave it a little bit of Annie, like not a lot, like a little bit, it would drift much quicker, but it would like check up a tiny bit at the end. Like it wouldn't roll on me. So the lobster was pretty identical. I would say its left to right movement was a little quicker than the Meteor on flat release. However, I did feel like the lobster had more glide than the Meteor. Like it definitely went a little farther every single time I threw it, no matter what angle I threw it on. And then again, the Tarsus was just more of a control for me to see. Obviously, on a flat release from me, if I'm hitting it like 70% power, which is what I was hitting all these on, it really wanted to like burn. Like obviously, it's 159 grams, so it was very light. The fun shot I did throw with the Tarsus, just to throw it out there, was I put it on a lot of hyzer, and I could actually hyzer flip it up completely and get it to turn completely. So it was like this huge, like I call it a U shot almost. So that was fun. There's I'm sure a place for that. Not for me because I don't have the skill yet, but I'm sure it is. But yeah, the Meteor definitely, it did left to right, but not as much as I remembered it or much as I thought it was going to. And same thing with a Lobster. It was just both a gentle left to right. Lobster maybe a little quicker left to right movement, but it did stay in the air longer, which I liked.
Yeah.
So okay. So looking at that, Brad, did you throw them on any like hard anhysers at all?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I did throw them all on hard anhyzer. What I will say is if you hit them really, really hard on anhyzer, like I went full power, I mean, they're going to turn over. Like they're going to burn over, right? But I will say both the ESP Meteor and the Lobster, if I'm being honest, if I gave them a little ante and hit them with power, they didn't burn over. Like they definitely turned very fast. And they like kind of on that squeaky edge of they almost wanted to burn over, but they did check up at the end. They didn't like completely flip over, even with a little bit of heat on them. So that actually let me do, it's just something I don't do often. And I did with these discs after a few throws was I think anyone that's a regular listener knows I fan grip my mids. I power gripped all of these after a few throws today. So it made me feel like I could actually hit them a little harder because they wouldn't turn over on me.
Come on with it. All right. Mission accomplished. Great job. So my question then would be, Brad, could you see value in having one of these to complement you've heard how he talks about the Buzz and then you've heard the Meteor. Do you think this lives in the void or is it too much overlap?
I think really the Lobster particularly, well, like, because when you were describing your Buzz, I'm like, that's kind of how this Lobster was. Because even like the Lobster, when I was throwing it on hyzer, it would flip up a little bit, but it doesn't like do this giant flip up. It's probably more like your Buzz off the shelf. I mean, maybe with a little bit more left to right movement, probably. But I think the Lobster definitely is there. Probably right on your chart between the Buzz and the Meteor is what I think right now. Yeah. Just with how you're describing the understability of your beat-in Meteor and then kind of like I'll use the word moldability of your Buzz. I think you'd probably be able to do that with a Lobster, but without, let me ask you this question. Do you feel like with your Buzz, you really have to to get it to like hyzer flip to go straight, do you really have to hit it pretty hard or are you throwing an easy shot?
To get it to hyzer flip, I got to hit it. For sure. If I hit it flat, I can take a little off it and keep it flat. But if I want to flip it, I got to hit it hard.
Which that's the thing I love about like the uplink specifically is I don't have to hit it hard at all to make it do that motion, that like flip up. And I think it's really the Lobster is probably like what is going to be good for you in that area because you can hit it like probably back down like maybe even 50% power and get the same results you're getting with that beat-in Buzz.
Okay.
So in my experience, I become more accurate that way, the less power I put into it. So maybe that's kind of what I'm thinking, Robbie.
Yeah. That is what I'm here for is let's get you a disc that naturally wants to go right but isn't burning over. And so that way you can suddenly see cuz I appreciate that you're saying, hey, for the more often when the shot asks for a Meteor, I'm still not going to the Meteor. I'm making the Buzz work for that shot.
Yep.
So you already have a Meteor in your bag, and I'd be curious to see over time if you had this Lobster in your bag, getting something that's naturally doing that shot, how much more often you might end up throwing your Meteor as well.
Okay.
Because of that. So and I think you're going to have room in your bag because if you do any of the overlap elimination that we talked about, you're going to have like 8 discs that are removed out of your bag. So you got so much room for activities.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that it's really important for like a brand new ESP Meteor, brand new Lobster, and the Apex plastic. Again, Flight wasn't that much different, but for your bag, I think it definitely lives between the two and will give you more confidence. Again, especially when you're going to woods golf and you have to be like, okay, I need accuracy over everything right now, but I still need that shot shape. I think that gives you the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. No, I love it. I'm here for it.
So our final question then, Andrew, would be: would you be willing to come back on the podcast from a different state and let us know how things are going?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, man. I love to. It's been a blast getting to talk with you guys, and I'm always down to talk some disc golf and some plastic. So that'd be great.
It's awesome.
Come on with it. Well, Andrew, then we will look forward to having you on a reunion episode here in a few weeks.
Let's go. Sounds good.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. We'll see you soon.
All right, y'all. So we just had Andrew leave, and your boy is a dum-dum, and I forgot to let him do the shameless plug. So this is Operation Robbie C. Shameless plug.
Here we go.
For Journey Disc Golf. If you're looking for the destination in disc golf, make sure if you're looking for great gear reviews, tutorials, and all things disc golf, head over to Journey Disc Golf. That's at JOURNEY Disc Golf. Call that. No, it's Journey. Andrew is doing a phenomenal job. I'm telling y'all, he is at the time of this recording, he's at about 1,500 subscribers, and that actually blows me away because his quality of content is super good. He's got fantastic music in the background. He's currently on a journey improving his game as well, the road to 450. So if you're looking to cross that 400 mark, definitely join him because he is doing so much. And I think what's really fun as a creator, personally, going from like having an outlet to kind of share your disc golf journey, you're going to get to see what it's like to go from someone who's played those closed courses like we've talked about to suddenly playing wooded golf. I think that's going to be some fantastic content that y'all are definitely going to want to check out and follow along. He's going to be doing big things, y'all. So that's Journey Disc Golf.
And I love, he's very honest with himself and like what he's going through. And I think that's helpful for everybody. So I think a lot of people like that about this podcast. So I think you'll enjoy it over there too. So
absolutely. So check it out. If we can get it down, we'll try to put a link for it in the description of the YouTube channel as well, or the YouTube video for this podcast, so you guys can check it out. But it's Journey, just how you would spell it. So Andrew, thank you again for coming on. Really appreciate it. Brad, you mentioned it, and I like looking at the flight numbers. You might have thought, bro, we're throwing an understable mid-range. Why is he not having me throw the uplink here?
Yeah, I get why you didn't. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. We don't need something that will just go right into infinity. We needed something that's like controllable and moldable. So completely made sense why we put those discs together.
Yeah. And I will say to the listeners, we with the new year, Brad and I have talked about it jokingly in a text, but like if we had in the bag discs, it's an easy answer for us, right? To get some custom in the bag uplinks going for you guys. Would y'all be interested in some custom in the bag discs? Because I mean, they'd be good. So obviously,
yeah, you got to put them in the bag. And what about some in the bag merch? Do you want to see some in the bag merch? I mean, apparel, accessories. It's a new year, new possibilities. So you let us know in the comments what you want to see. If you're like, hey, we don't want any of that stuff, that's fine too. You can say
let us know that too. I actually, I suffer through the podcast every week, and thank you for your suffering. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
No. So one of the ways that we do get to do this, though, is thanks to FoundationDisc.com. So, Brad, what's new in the warehouse?
All right. So we got a couple things this week. Number one, we've got from Mint Discs, we've got the Glow Goat and the Glow Mustang dropping on Friday when this podcast airs. So make sure you check it out. The Goat doesn't have a spot in my bag, but I love the design. It has like little goat heads all the way around. It has a little animation to it. So pretty cool. Glow Mustang is something I'm just trying to put in my bag. I love how it flies. If you remember that episode, Robbie.
Yeah.
So that may bump out some other stuff. We'll see. Let's see. Discraft. We've got a bunch of ESP Flex, the new ESP Flex, in about every mold you'd ever want. It feels awesome. So make sure you check that out. I mean, Thrashers, Undertakers, Zones, Buzzes, you name it, it's an ESP Flex. We have a little bit of all of it. So make sure you check those out. Also, something new we're going to be dropping is we're going to have we have a local disc dyer here. His name's Gordon. So we're going to put a dyed disc section up on our website. So those will be live at the time of this. So a lot of cool, interesting. We got some dyed uplinks and jackalopes and buzzes, just a variety of different disc and manufacturers up there. So make sure you check those out too.
Dude, that sounds awesome. The dyed disc section, I mean, someone asked me, I was at the shop last week and someone asked like, oh, Robbie, you still dyeing discs and all that? And I was like, y'all, here's what I came to believe. There are people out there who are way more gifted than myself at doing that whole disc dyeing thing. So
yeah,
I'm just going to let the creators create.
Yeah, right. Yeah, this guy is great, and he does a lot of interesting stuff. He does spin dyes and all the other varieties of dyes. I don't know the lingo, but it's all cool. So make sure you check those out as well. There's also an exciting announcement coming out that has already come out at this point, but in case our listeners don't know, Robbie will let you tell them.
Yeah, so the Robbie C channel is officially joining Foundation Disc Golf. So
Let's go.
I am super, super pumped to be a part of the team. It's like, it's weird like saying it out loud right now because it's been in the works for so long. And it's still like we record this before that announcement has gone live. So I'm like, oh, do I keep it on the hush hush? But y'all know it's so fun. I've really enjoyed getting to build a relationship with Brad and Hunter and all the guys over on the team. And I think it's a really cool opportunity to help grow the Robbie C brand, but also to bring something that Foundation currently doesn't have. I think one thing I really respect about Foundation Disc Golf is that there's such a emphasis on media and providing that content for the disc golf world overall. And so getting to come in and sort of be like the coaching help to Foundation is an honor and something that I'm super stoked for.
Yeah, we're pumped about it as well. I mean, you get to see Robbie and more stuff on Foundation, and some of the other guys on stuff on the Robbie C channel. So pumped about that. We'll even be able to do some live in the bag episodes where we're together, Robbie. We've never done that, so that'll be exciting.
Yeah, it'll be awesome. Like, yeah, it's more opportunities. I mean, hey, I'll be up in Lynchburg a couple times a year at least, and including very conveniently something like Worlds coming to Lynchburg in 2024.
Yep.
Game on, y'all.
Yeah, we're so excited. So a lot of cool stuff happening here. But none of it happens without you all. So thank you for your support on this podcast. Thank you for your support at foundationdiscgolf.com and buying your disc over there and your merch and your apparel. All of that happen. All of this only happens because of you. So we're all very grateful, especially rolling into 2023. Thanks for hanging out with us and staying fans and customers of Foundation. So we're very appreciative of all of you.
Yeah, buying that stuff. And as always, remember, if it's good,
keep it in the bag. We'll see you all for episode 37.
Game on.